The stars burned like cold fire above a silent world. The planet Therion 9 was once full of human life. Cities, markets, laughter. Now only smoke and ruins remained. An alien dropship cut through the clouds, black as night. Inside it stood a tall figure in heavy armor, his red eyes glowing behind a metal visor. His name was Karen, an alien mercenary feared across 100 worlds. To most races, Karen was a legend, the hunter of humans. He had ended more wars than any general. Not for honor, not for belief, but for credits. He had no family, no home, no mercy. Only the mission. As the ship landed in the ashes of a broken city, the metal ramp opened with a hiss. Karen stepped out, his boots crushing burnt soil. The air smelled of dust and old fire. He scanned the ruins with his visor. Life signals faint, but one was still there. A human survivor. Target located. Coordinates sent. Capture alive. The cold voice of his commander echoed in his helmet. Karen answered simply, understood. He walked alone through the silent streets. The broken buildings stood like bones under a blood-red sky. Human toys, papers, and pictures lay half-buried in the dirt. He looked down at a burned doll, its face melted, and for a second, something in him paused. Then he kept walking. He was trained not to feel. As he entered the ruins of an old human school, his scanner beeped again. The life signal was close, heartbeat faint, movement small. He aimed his plasma rifle and moved slowly, every step quiet. Inside a dark hallway, flickering lights cast strange shadows on the wall. His sharp eyes caught something. A child's drawing stuck to the wall, half-burned. It showed a son, two people holding hands, and the words, "We will be safe soon." Karen stared for a moment. The drawing meant nothing to him. And yet, it didn't feel like nothing. He shook his head and continued. Suddenly, a sound. Soft, weak. A human voice crying. Karen stopped. The sound came from a room ahead. He aimed his rifle and kicked the door open. Inside, under broken desks and pieces of wall, was a small human girl. Her clothes were torn, her hands shaking. She looked up and froze when she saw the tall alien in dark armor. Her blue eyes widened in fear. She whispered, "Please, don't hurt me." Karen's orders echoed in his mind. Capture the survivor alive. He stepped closer, weapon aimed. The girl crawled back until her hand hit the wall. Tears ran down her face. "Target located," Karen said to his comm. Her waiting further, then he stopped. The girl was not fighting, not screaming. She was just afraid. Not a soldier. Not an enemy. Just a child. Her small voice broke through the static of his helmet. "Are you going to kill me?" The question struck deeper than any weapon. Karen had killed many humans before. Warriors, officers, rebels. But no one had ever asked him why. For a few seconds he said nothing. His claws tightened around the rifle. The command line in his helmet repeated, "Mercenary unit respond." Confirm capture. He slowly lowered his weapon. "No," he said quietly. "I will not kill you." The girl blinked, not sure if she heard right. "Then why are you here?" Karen looked away. His armor reflected the weak light. "Because I was told to be." Silence filled the broken room. Dust floated in the air like snow. The girl hugged her knees and whispered, "My name is Lena." Karen didn't answer. He checked the door again, sensors scanning the area. Enemy drones could arrive any time. He looked at her again, small, weak, injured, and something in him changed, like a light flickering inside darkness. He walked to her slowly and offered his clawed hand. She hesitated, but then reached out. Her small hand touched cold metal. He lifted her gently. "You are hurt," he said. "You cannot stay here." "You're helping me?" she asked, voice trembling. "It is complicated." He carried her out through the ruins, his eyes scanning the dark sky. The enemy, his own people, would soon notice his delay. He knew what they did to traitors. Still, his steps didn't stop. Each footstep echoed through the hollow city like a heartbeat. He didn't know why he was saving her. He didn't know what he felt. But for the first time in years, he was not following an order. As they reached the street, distant thunder rolled, not from clouds, but from approaching ships. Karen looked up. The alien fleet was returning. He whispered to himself, "Too soon." He turned and moved into the shadows, carrying the human child deeper into the ruins. Behind him, explosions lit the horizon. The world burned again. Inside his helmet, the commander's voice grew louder, colder. "Karen, report. Do you have the human?" He looked down at Lena, now asleep in his arms. He switched off his comm. Silence filled his helmet. For the first time, Karen disobeyed an order. As the flames rose around them, a strange thought entered his mind. A question that no one had ever taught him to ask. What if they are not monsters? What if we are? He walked into the night unseen, carrying the last light of humanity in his arms. The hunter had become the protector. And somewhere deep inside, the mercenary began to feel human. The night on Therion 9 was quiet but dangerous. The red moon hung low, lighting the destroyed city with a ghostly glow. Karen moved carefully through the ruins, carrying the small human girl Lena in his arms. Her breathing was weak. She was hurt and cold. Every few minutes, Karen looked up at the sky, afraid of what he might see. The silver lights of his people's ships searching for him. He knew the punishment for disobedience, for showing mercy, for feeling. But still he walked. He found an old human shelter beneath a broken building. It smelled of smoke and metal, but it was safe for now. He laid Lena down on a piece of cloth and scanned her with his visor. Minor wounds, dehydrated, exhausted. He took a small injector from his belt, alien medicine not meant for humans, and hesitated. Would it harm her? Or save her? She opened her eyes and whispered weakly, "It's cold." Karen looked at her, her face pale, small hands trembling. He had seen dying humans before, but this time something inside him hurt, though he did not know why. "This will help," he said in his deep metallic voice. He injected the serum gently. Her eyes widened for a moment, then her breathing steadied. She smiled faintly. "Thank you." Karen didn't reply. He just sat near the doorway, scanning the darkness outside. After a long silence, Lena spoke again, her voice small but curious. "Who are you?" "Karen," he said simply. "That's a strange name," she said softly. "Are you one of them?" "The ones who attacked us." Karen looked down. The firelight reflected on his armor. "Yes," he said. "I was sent to destroy what was left of your people." Lena's eyes filled with tears. She didn't speak. Karen waited for her to scream or hate him. But she didn't. She just looked at him, not with anger, but sadness. "Then why did you save me?" she asked. Karen had no answer. He looked away and said quietly, "I do not know." Outside, thunder echoed again, this time real thunder. A storm was coming. Rain began to fall through holes in the ceiling, tapping softly on the floor. Karen stood near the entrance, watching the rain mix with the ashes. Lena sat up a little and said, "On Earth, rain was a good thing. My mom said rain means the sky is washing away sadness." Karen turned slightly. "Does it work?" "Sometimes," she smiled faintly. "When we were scared, my dad used to play music. It always made things better." Karen tilted his head. "Music? You don't know music?" she asked in surprise. "It's like sound that feels happy or sad. It helps you feel less alone." Karen said nothing. But her words stayed in his mind. For the first time in many years, the mercenary listened, not to commands, not to gunfire, but to the voice of a human child talking about hope in a dying world. Hours passed. The storm grew stronger. Karen kept watch, his weapon ready. Suddenly his visor flashed red, motion detected. He raised his rifle instantly, but it was only a small metal drone, a broken one moving weakly. He shot it down in one clean blast. Lena jumped at the sound. "Are they coming?" she asked. "Not yet," Karen replied. "But they will. My commander will send others to find me." "Why?" she asked. "Because you helped me?" "Because I failed my mission," Karen said. "And in my world, failure means death." Lena looked down, then whispered, "That's not fair." Karen turned to her, his eyes glowing red under the helmet. "Fairness is not part of war." She thought for a moment, then said softly, "Then maybe war is wrong." Karen froze. No one had ever said those words to him before. In his world, war was everything, purpose, law, and power. But this small human child, who should have been broken by fear, still spoke of right and wrong. He didn't reply. But deep inside, something was changing. Later, when Lena fell asleep, Karen sat quietly near her. He took out the small drawing he had found earlier, the one of two figures holding hands under a sun. He looked at it again. The colors were faded, But the meaning felt clear now. Unity, hope, something he had never known. He placed the drawing beside her. Hours passed in silence. Before dawn, Lena woke up and saw him sitting there, watching the rain again. "You don't sleep?" she asked. "Not when I am hunted," he replied. "Then I'll stay awake with you," she said, trying to smile. Karen looked at her, small, fragile, yet brave enough to face fear. Something inside his chest tightened, something unfamiliar. It wasn't anger or duty, it was care. He looked away quickly, pretending to check his scanner. "Rest," he said. "You will need strength to move when the sun rises." But when he looked back, she was already asleep again, peaceful even in the ruins of war. He whispered quietly to himself, "Humans, so weak yet so strong." Outside, the wind carried the smell of smoke and rain. In the distance, Karen's helmet picked up faint signals. His people were coming closer. They would find him soon. He looked at the sleeping child and made his decision. He would not hand her over. He would protect her, even if it meant becoming the enemy of his own kind. Karen stood up, his red eyes glowing brighter than the storm outside. He reloaded his weapon, then whispered softly, almost like a promise, "You are not alone anymore." The mercenary of 1,000 battles was no longer hunting humans. Now he was fighting for one. The morning sky of Therion 9 burned red as the sun rose over the dead city. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled of smoke and metal. Karen stood at the edge of the shelter, his armor glowing faintly in the sunlight. His visor scanned the horizon, movement detected far but approaching fast. They were coming, the search ships of his people. He turned and looked at Lena, who was still sleeping beside the old drawing he had kept for her. She looked peaceful, her small face calm against the cold floor. For a long time, Karen just watched her. He felt something strange, something that had no word in his language. When he had first found her, she was only a mission target. Now she was the reason he was still alive. He walked outside and activated his comm device, hesitating before speaking. "Unit Karen reporting." The response came immediately, a deep mechanical voice. "Karen, your signal was lost for 12 hours. Explain." Karen's voice stayed calm. "My systems were damaged in the battle. I am recovering, and the human survivor." Karen looked back toward the shelter. Eliminated a short silence. Then the commander's voice again, colder this time. "We detected human radioactivity in your sector. Are you certain the target is dead?" Karen's claws tightened. He turned off the comm. He knew they didn't trust him. He knew they would come to confirm. And when they arrived, they would find Lena. He couldn't let that happen. Karen entered the shelter and shook Lena gently. "Wake up," he said. She opened her eyes slowly. "Is it morning?" "Yes," he said. "We must move now." "Why?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. "Because my people are coming." Her eyes widened. "They'll kill me." "And me," Karen replied quietly. "If they find us together." Lena stood quickly, fear in her eyes. "Where will we go?" "Underground tunnels," he said. "Humans built them for war. They may still be safe." He helped her pack a small bag with water and food. Then they left the shelter and moved through the broken streets. The wind carried the sound of engines, distant but growing louder. Lena whispered, "They're close." Karen nodded. "Keep moving." "Stay low." They entered a collapsed subway tunnel. It was dark and cold. Water dripped from the ceiling. Karen's visor lit the way with a soft blue glow. Every step echoed through the tunnel like thunder. Lena held his hand tightly. "You're not scared, right?" Karen paused for a moment. "I have never been scared," he said. Then softer. "Until now." She looked up at him, confused. "Because of them." "No," Karen said. "Because of what I might lose." Hours passed. They followed the tunnel until they reached an old human bunker filled with dust and broken machines. Karen checked the scanner. No movement nearby. They stopped to rest. Lena sat on the floor, exhausted. "Karen," she said quietly, "will we ever get out of here?" He didn't answer immediately. His red eyes dimmed for a moment. "I don't know. But I will not let them take you." Lena smiled faintly. "You're not like them, are you?" Karen looked away. "I was, once." Before he could say more, his helmet beeped, a warning signal. A small red light blinked on his chest plate. "What is that?" Lena asked. Karen's voice turned sharp. A tracking beacon. They activated it remotely. They can find us? Yes. He ripped the beacon out from his armor and threw it against the wall. It sparked and died, but it was too late. The signal had already been sent. He looked at Lena. They know where we are. Outside, the sound of engines grew louder, closer now. Karen grabbed his rifle and faced the tunnel entrance. Hide behind that wall, he ordered. Do not move. Lena nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Promise you'll come back. I will. Moments later, the tunnel exploded in a flash of light. The shockwave threw dust and debris into the air. Karen opened fire, his plasma rifle blazing. Alien soldiers in black armor flooded the tunnel, shouting commands. Karen! Surrender! You are under arrest for treason. Karen's voice echoed through the smoke. I do not surrender. He fought like a beast, his shots precise, his movements fast. The air filled with heat and thunder. One by one the soldiers fell, but there were too many. A plasma bolt hit his shoulder. He growled in pain but didn't stop. He threw a grenade and took cover, protecting the entrance where Lena hid. The explosion shook the tunnel. Rocks fell from the ceiling. Lena screamed, Karen! Stay down! He shouted. He took another hit, falling to one knee. His vision blurred. His systems screamed warnings he could run. He could escape. But if he left her, she would die. So he stood up again, roaring like a monster against his own kind. When the last of the attackers fell, Karen dropped to his knees. His armor smoked, sparks flying from his wounds. Lena ran to him, crying, You're hurt. It is nothing, he said, but his voice was weak. You saved me again, she whispered. Karen looked at her, his enemy, his only friend. No, he said softly. You saved me, Lena frowned. How? You made me remember what it means to protect, not destroy. He turned his gaze toward the tunnel's dark entrance. More ships were coming. He could hear them. We must keep moving, he said. This is only the beginning. He stood limping, but determined, and as they walked deeper into the tunnels, the enemy above searched the ruins, unaware that the mercenary they created had become the one thing they could never understand. Being with a human heart. The tunnels of Therion 9 stretched deep beneath the ruined city, dark, endless and silent except for the soft echo of footsteps. Karen moved slowly. His armor cracked, his shoulder bleeding faint light from damaged circuits. Every step was heavy, but still he moved, because Lena was beside him, holding his hand tightly. Above them, the enemy fleet circled the city, searching. Karen's comm picked up fragments of chatter. His name, his crime, his location. He was now marked as traitor. For a mercenary like Karen, that meant only one ending, death. But he didn't care anymore. After hours of walking, they reached an old human bunker, rusted, half-collapsed, but strong enough to hold. The walls were lined with old weapons and dusty monitors. Karen checked the entrance and then sat down heavily, breathing slow. His systems warned him of energy loss, but he ignored it. Lena looked at him, worry on her face. You need to rest. No time, Karen said. They will find us soon. She stepped closer, gently touching the cracked part of his armor. You saved me so many times, she whispered. Let me help you now. Karen looked at her, so small yet so brave. You already have, he said quietly. He opened his wrist panel and began recording a message. The blue light of the device glowed faintly in the dim room. This is Karen of the Zurian Legion, he said. If anyone receives this, know that the humans are not what you told us. They fight for their lives, for their families, not for greed. If this is what humanity is, maybe they are worth saving. He ended the recording and uploaded it to a wide broadcast channel, knowing the fleet would hear it. Lena tilted her head. What did you do? I told the truth, he said. Now they will come faster. Outside, thunder rolled again, but this time it wasn't a storm. It was ships descending. Karen stood gripping his plasma rifle. Get to the back room, he said. There's a vent. If I fall, you run. Do not stop. I'm not leaving you, she said firmly. You must, Karen said. His deep voice softened. You carry something I cannot, a hope. Her eyes filled with tears. You said you'd stay with me. Karen hesitated, then knelt down. I will stay. As long as I can. He placed his clawed hand gently on her shoulder. Promise me you will live. She nodded, trying to be brave. The first explosion shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. Karen moved to the doorway, raising his weapon. Alien soldiers, his former brothers, dropped from ships spreading through the ruins. Their armor gleamed in the firelight. A voice echoed through his comm. "Karen, surrender now. You have broken the code. Do not make this harder." Karen pressed his comm button and answered, calm and steady. "I already made my choice." The next moment the sky lit up with plasma fire. The bunker shook as Karen unleashed his fury. Every shot was precise, every move filled with purpose. He fought not for money, not for command, but for Lena. The soldiers came in waves. Karen switched weapons, using both alien tech and old human rifles he found in the bunker. Sparks flew, smoke filled the room, metal screamed. He was surrounded, but he did not fall. "Karen, stop this madness," a familiar voice shouted. His old commander, Vortek. Karen looked through the haze and saw the tall, armored figure approaching. "So you taught me to kill without question," Karen said. "But you never taught me why." Vortek raised his rifle. "Because questions make soldiers weak." Karen's eyes glowed bright red. "Then maybe weakness is what makes us alive." He fired. The blast hit Vortek's armor, sending him crashing back. But more troops poured in. Karen's energy reserves were dropping fast. His armor was failing. Still he fought, roaring, defiant. Behind him, Lena cried, "Karen, they're coming from the other side." He turned and fired again, covering her. A bolt hit his leg. He stumbled but stayed up. "Go, Lena! Run! No!" she shouted. "I won't leave you." He looked back, and for a brief moment, through all the noise and fire, he smiled. "How you already gave me what I needed." "What?" she cried. "A reason." Suddenly a new sound filled the air, the distant roar of engines, but not alien ones, human ships. The distress beacon from Lena's comm had worked. Blue lights broke through the clouds as human fighters entered the battle. Plasma fire turned the sky into chaos. Human soldiers dropped onto the field, confused at first. Then they saw it, an alien mercenary standing over a small human child, protecting her with his life. Karen fell to one knee, his weapon empty. His armor cracked. The humans aimed their rifles but hesitated. They saw the truth in front of them. One of them shouted, "Hold your fire!" "He's protecting her!" Lena ran forward and wrapped her arms around Karen. "We did it!" "They're here." Karen looked at her, his vision fading. "Yes, you're safe now. Don't go," she whispered. "Please." Karen's eyes dimmed, his voice soft. "I will always be with you, little one." He reached up, touched her hair gently, and then went still. Lena cried, holding on to him as human soldiers surrounded them. The captain of the human squad looked down at the alien warrior and said quietly, "He fought for her." The others nodded in silence. Outside, the storm cleared, and sunlight broke through the clouds for the first time in years. That day, the humans carried both the child and the alien body back to their ship. The war was not over, but something had changed. An enemy had shown them what humanity truly meant. The battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose in thin spirals from the ruins of Therion 9, but the sky was clearing. The sun touched the ash-covered city, painting it gold and red. Lena sat on a makeshift bench inside the human transport ship, her small hands still trembling. She looked down at the ground, thinking of Karen, the mercenary who had saved her countless times, who had become her protector. The humans around her whispered, still shocked. They had come to fight, but instead they had witnessed an alien fight for humanity. The captain approached Lena. "You did the right thing by sending that signal," he said softly. "He wouldn't have lasted without it." Lena nodded silently, tears in her eyes. "He saved me," she whispered. "Not just me. Everyone down there." Below, on the scarred ground of Therion 9, Karen lay among the rubble. His armor was cracked and smoking. His energy systems were nearly offline, yet he wasn't afraid. For the first time in his long life of mercenary work, he felt something more than duty. A soft hand touched his clawed arm. Lena had returned, stepping carefully over debris. "Karen?" she asked. He opened one eye, the red glow dim but still alive. "You came back," he said weakly. "I promised," she said, smiling through her tears. Karen looked at the horizon, the ruins of the city, the rising sun, and the human ships leaving above. "I am a monster," he said quietly. "Or at least, I was. No, Lena replied. You are the kind of monster who can care. That's human too, you know. He stared at her for a moment, unsure if he deserved the words. Then she handed him something, a small drawing she had made during the battle. It showed a star, half alien, half human, joined in the sky. A new world, she said softly. Together. Karen looked at the drawing and felt warmth inside, a feeling he didn't have a word for. Perhaps, he whispered. Perhaps it is. The human captain approached again. Karen, he said carefully, you betrayed your kind. Why, Karen's red eyes glimmered in the sunlight. I found something worth more than orders, than loyalty, than fear. And that is? He looked at Lena. Humanity. The captain nodded slowly. He did not fully understand, but he saw the truth. The mercenary had acted against his own people to protect life, not destroy it. Karen struggled to stand, leaning heavily on debris. He had survived against all odds, but his journey had changed him. No longer a killer for hire, no longer a shadow of war. He had learned the meaning of compassion. Lena stepped forward and held his clawed hand. Will you stay with us? She asked. Karen looked at the ruins of Therion 9, the battlefield he had once ruled with fire, and then at the small human girl who had changed his world. I team will try, he said quietly. The wind carried the smell of rain and ash. Birds, real birds, tiny and fragile, flew over the broken city singing in the morning sun. Karen closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the warmth, the life, and the hope he had never known. Weeks later, Karen walked through the rebuilt human colony beside Lena. She laughed as she ran ahead, chasing small animals in the green fields humans had planted. For the first time he smiled, a real smile, not a mercenary's sneer, but a quiet human one. People watched him with caution. Some still feared him, but he did not mind. He was not the hunter anymore. He was the protector. He paused on a hill overlooking the city, the sunlight glinting off his repaired armor. Lena ran to him and held up another drawing, this one of a planet with humans and aliens standing together under a shining sun. Do you think we can really live like this? She asked. Karen knelt beside her, eyes soft but steady. If we remember what it means to care, maybe we can. And as the sun rose higher, casting light over the ruins turned into hope, Karen finally understood what humanity truly was, not just survival, not just strength, but courage, kindness, and the choice to protect even those you once called enemies. He looked at Lena, then at the horizon, and whispered softly, Sometimes it takes an enemy to remind us what it means to be human. And with that, the mercenary who once hunted humans walked forward into a new dawn, carrying the light of hope, the gift of compassion, and the promise of a future where enemies could become allies.